Not
the
yet.
week. Whoop,
Now go ahead.
good, good afternoon. Welcome to Plant's weekly webinar where we look at investing with self-directed IRAs and investment ideas. Before I introduce our guest, Dr. Khalil, we just have one housekeeping item I want to get through, and grab your coffee or your lunch or whatever you're doing here at high noon. And just a disclaimer, the lawyers have to have their say, and we don't provide investment advice or endorsements or recommendations due to the nature of our industry. We're prohibited from doing such. We're not an investment advisor, CPA, realtor, attorney, and all the other things you see listed there. We are custodians, and we'll keep you clean with the IRS, but self-direction means that you do your own due diligence. So everything you see here is presented for educational purposes. We always advise you, whenever you're doing anything with self-directed investing, to get with your team, your CPA, your tax prep specialist, your lawyer if you have to. So let's move forward. This is a real interesting topic because for particularly people in my age bracket, rotator cuff and replacement of joints and tendons and things like that is a regular occurrence. And so if you've had any of those procedures done, or you know anybody who has had them done, we're going to talk about that and the kind of products that are being developed to improve the recovery time and outcomes of these types of surgeries. We have with us here Dr. Saif Khalil. He is the founder of Aevumed. And Aevumed is a MedTech platform, and we're going to get into what that means in just a minute. But Dr. Khalil spent the last 2 decades in biologics and med device R&D and commercialization. But it's really more than that, because he's not just doing design and R&D, but he's also been involved in Class 2 and Class 3 device launches. And this is where the rubber hits the road. If you're a person who's been involved in product launches, particularly for new devices or new items, compliance, regulatory environment, legal environment, distribution channels and partners and things like that, and building awareness in your market are all challenges that can stymie even the most innovative, types of things. So he has experience in that area. And on top of that, he's got 20 patents to his name. So this ought to be a really interesting discussion. Aevumed develops orthopedic solutions for soft tissue repair and regeneration. And that's what I referred to earlier. So what they try to do is create products that reduce recovery time and improve the outcomes. And so without any further ado, I'd like to drop off my screen and introduce Dr. Khalil. Dr. Khalil, thanks for coming in today and sharing your time with us.
It's my pleasure, Joe. Thank you for having me on today. So I'm going to put my presentation on screen mode.
Yeah.
Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm very excited to share with everyone here, who we are, what we have done, and where we're going. As you mentioned, Joe, we are a sports medicine company. We're in orthopedics, which is basically soft tissue repair. Think of, let's say, your rotator cuff or your Achilles tendon in your foot. That's what we're tackling here. So I want to start off here by the investment opportunity, just as a quick intro to everyone. We are in a $5 million raise right now. Our planned exit to start marketing ourselves to a strategic will start in approximately 2 years. So we're talking about 2028 with a projected possible ROI of around 10x at that point. And we are also QSBS eligible, so we can talk about that at another point. We have two simultaneous rounds going on at the same time. We have a Reg D, which is basically for accredited investors. The minimum for that is $50,000. And we also have simultaneously a Reg CF, which is for non-accredited investors. And you can go directly to our website if you would like to invest through that. The minimum for that is $1,000. Now, there is a price difference between both, and also the types of share are different. For the Reg D, it is a preferred share. That's why it's at $7.50, and the minimum is, again, $50. But for the Reg CF, it's at $9. It's for common stock, but again, the minimum is only $1,000 at that point. Many of you are probably involved to some degree in MedTech. Well, this year is a very exciting year because for the first time, we're projected to go over $1 trillion as far as market size, driven by technological innovations, aging population, and so forth. So when we started Aevumed, our approach was to basically understand what's going on in the industry. And we've noticed the medical device industry has been focused on trend-first strategies. So looking at market reports, and based on that, kind of developing a new product that follows that trend. What we wanted to do at Aevumed is really change that. And so we want to have a clinical first approach, meaning that we identify the specific patient needs first before we design a product. And then we develop the product later on. And that is great because what it does is we already set up the customers who are our surgeons. We already understand what their real needs are. And so when the product comes out, we already have customers lined up. And so when I first started the company, I started from the basement of my home. And this was the first tractor trailer backing up into my driveway. We used to put pallets into my garage with the first early products. And then I moved with my co-founder, Miles Curtis, into a one office space. And back then there's Bobby on the right-hand side. He's one of our lead engineers today. Back then he was one of our interns at the one office space that we had. And then we moved to our current facility, which is in Malvern. That's where I'm speaking to you from today. It's a manufacturing facility with office space and labs. It's designed to have surgeons come and interact with us and brainstorm ideas and also test the products. We also have a fantastic shop where we can prototype almost anything from metals, from plastics, and so forth. We have CNC machines, Swisses as well. In addition to that, we also have a cadaver lab, which you see on the right-hand side. So this is where a lot of our surgeons that collaborate with us, they come to our facility here. We conduct a lot of cadaver research on the products that we're developing, making sure that they're performing as intended. And more importantly, they're actually solving some of the issues that they have today with some of the current products on the market. And then on the left-hand side here, you can see our clean room, which we just installed last year. It's an ISO 8 certified clean room, so we can start packaging this year and start reducing our cost and also increasing our production volume in-house. And so this is what our facility basically looks like. So once we develop, we take our products to the commercialization process and mass produce these products. We make the instruments. We make also the implants that the surgeons actually use for these products. And as I said, this is a clean room where we are already starting to package some of our products in-house. And we are, by the way, ISO 9001 and 13485 certified. We just completed our last audit actually last quarter. So we're certified from that standpoint. This is one of our braiders that we have in-house. So we also manufacture our braiders. This is a suture braider, how we make our sutures in-house and also how we prepare them. And just going into switching gears, getting into the market, it's a very exciting area because sports medicine within orthopedics is actually the fastest growing area within orthopedics. It's growing about 7% a year. If you compare that to joints and trauma in orthopedics, those are growing between 3 and 4%. So it's almost double this, the rate that it's growing at. And it's been actually a very underserved market within orthopedics. And a lot of the large companies recently have been starting to really push hard in this area in the last 5 years or so, which is a perfect time. That's kind of when we came in. So going into what is sports medicine, I'm going to switch into what we have developed. We started first in rotator cuff. And the reason we started in rotator cuff tears is because it's one of the most common problems in sports medicine. It's a relatively large market within sports medicine. And many patients, actually 1 in 5, come back with a re-tear after surgery. So there is an issue, and it needs to be solved. But our strategy and our approach is basically to look at how we can improve the hardware that's being used in surgery, how we can improve the biologics, and then how we can improve the information side as well for the surgeon. So as I just mentioned, let's focus just on rotator cuff, not the entire body, just to keep things simple. This is where all of our business comes from today. We are a revenue generating business. And so we focus on rotator cuff. And what we notice is that the main two issues is the mechanical and biological. And last but not least is the information. So this is how we tackled the mechanical side of rotator cuff. We sat down with surgeons that collaborate with us, and they told us, number one, they want to be able to retention the suture. So just to give some more light to everyone on this call, a suture anchor is basically, think of it as a screw that goes into your bone, and attached to it are these sutures, right? So the surgeon typically would put the anchor into the bone, into your humerus in your shoulder, and then take those sutures that are attached to it and tie down the tendon back, your rotator cuff, back to the bone in order for it to heal back into position. And so one of the issues that these anchors have today on the market is that they're non-retentionable. So once they tighten everything, they can no longer retention the sutures. The other mechanical problem that they see today is that a lot of these sutures tend to cut through the bone because they're placed on the outside of these anchors. And I'm specifically talking about something called knotless anchors, which are used in rotator cuff. So surgeons wanted to solve this problem. And I'm putting up here a matrix just showing you some of the key players in this market. You know, whether it's Arthrex, Smith & Nephew, and Zimmer, you know, they all have these kind of products, but they all have these same issues. The surgeons also want fantastic pull-out strength, no metal, and make sure it's also self-punching, have a self-punching feature. So I'm going to show you some quick videos, and I hope this will clarify things for everyone here. This first video is showing how we're preventing the sutures from cutting through the bone. On the left-hand side, that's our product. It's called a Phantom LP, or knotless anchor. And on the right-hand side is one of our competitors, right? So as you can see, this is a cyclical test. The screw is already in the bone model. And if you start pulling the screw, like loading it, unloading it, you start to see on the competitors' side that the sutures actually cut through the bone. And again, that's because the sutures are on the outside of the anchor, not on the inside. So what we've done at Aevumed is we've designed a very unique anchor, manufactured in a very unique way as well, different than all of our competitors. And that way we're able to maintain the sutures inside the anchor, and therefore we're preventing the bone. I just mentioned to you earlier, one of the other issues is the retentionables feature. So here's a classical example. On the top side of the video is one of our competitors, and on the bottom side, again, is the Phantom LP anchor. So on the top hand side, you can see the anchors being screwed into the bone, and there's that one suture that looks like an arc that the surgeon is unable to tension or get it down. The whole purpose of getting it down is so that they maintain pressure on your tendon back to the bone. If you don't have that tension, then you have risk of the tendon not healing back to the bone. Whereas on the bottom hand side, as you can see with our anchor, the surgeons are able to retension, perfectly align everything. And if they want to readjust it, they have that capability, something that does not exist in any other system today.
Dr. Dotson, you just had your first case. Can you tell us how?
So this is Dr. Dotson. He's one of the designers for this anchor, the Phantom LP. I'm going to fast forward to the clinical side, and I think this will give a lot of light. He's on the medical advisory board for Aevumed, and along with others. And so I'm just going to fast forward.
That was great.
This is our medical advisory board. I'll let them speak so everyone can hear what they're saying.
Me, like just from a technical ease part was both the self-punching and then also the fact that the suture, when you tension it, as long as that screw, that inner screw is down a little bit, it holds the tension for you, so you don't have to cleat it. and it doesn't bounce back. And if it bounces back, then you can just tighten your screw a hair, and it'll continue to catch it. So I really like that part of it.
That's the rotator cuff, the white material that looks like a
in
cotton
the anchor
ball.
and the cannula, so there's no issues with really soft tissue getting in your way of putting the set screw in and having it bind up like we saw in the screw-in design. And I thought the pull-out seemed really robust, and I was happy with the fixation on the cases that I did.
I'm actually doing a true double row, one at the medial row for the deep layer and one at the tip of the greater tuberosity for the superficial layer. And I use them both knotless. So I thought it was outstanding. It probably saved me an hour on a 3-tendon tear.
And so moving on to the next step, I mentioned earlier, our approach is 3: mechanical, biological, and information. So on the rotator cuff as well, what we've done is we've developed a system that can actually tackle some of the issues. Because again, in rotator cuff, when you put the tendon back against the bone, sometimes the tissue is not healthy enough to heal itself. Obviously, it's dependent on the patient's health to start with and so forth. And so there are these things called scaffolds that help regenerate the tendon back to the bone. And there are a few of them on the market. But what we've done, what we're trying to focus on is make sure we make a scaffold that makes sense based on surgeon feedback. Again, what they actually need. And so based on their needs, we've actually developed a 3D printing model. This is built in-house, this manufacturing capability of 3D printing collagen along with a synthetic polymer for the rotator cuff. And so this is called the Phantom X. This is, again, not on the market yet. However, the development is complete, just to be clear. It is complete. And that's part of why we're raising the capital, is to complete some of the testing that we need to finish and submit to the FDA and get this on the market in 2027. But to show you the Phantom X, a very unique product. What you're looking at is a rotator cuff in your shoulder, and it has a full tear. That's the Phantom X. It comes with a delivery system. It's a very unique system. There's a scaffold, or the 3D printed scaffold that I just mentioned to you. That's that white material that you see going against the rotator cuff. This is a very quick system. It can be delivered in under 3 minutes. Very easy to use, very low training. And typically what the surgeon would do is deploy it, as you can see in this animation, and then they would use the suture anchors, as I showed you earlier, and how they repair the rotator cuff. So what you're looking at is a double row fixation. So they're putting anchors on the top side, that's where you see the blue sutures and the white and striped sutures. And then on the bottom side of the screen, they're putting a second row. They call it usually a lateral row, where they connect the sutures from one side to the other. And that way they can compress the tendon back down to the bone in hopes that it's going to heal together. Except that in this scenario, you have the scaffold, the Phantom X, that white material, with the collagen in it. And there are many studies that show that it actually helps in tissue regeneration of the tendon in a rotator cuff. So that's what this product, again, this is a key product for us. The valuation of the company is weighted a lot on this product because of the M&As, and I'll share some of the M&As in the space with you shortly. So this is a cadaver lab that we've conducted. This is, again, the Phantom X being used, but I'm going to skip here because of the cadaver that we're showing here, but happy to discuss more about it later on. So here's a competitive matrix showing this Phantom X regenerative scaffold against some of our competitors. I've already talked about the speed, the simplicity, the low training, the fact that it's 3D printing, so it's really designed specifically. The geometry is best compared to any other scaffold on the market because it's really designed for the rotator cuff. But the last but not least, as you can see on this slide, is the cost. and most companies don't talk about this. The reimbursement is a big issue for some of these scaffolds. They cost about $4,000 each. On our end, because we manufacture everything in-house, we control the cost internally, and therefore we can price it such that it meets the Medicare reimbursement. So just to be clear, the reimbursement codes for insurance already exist. We don't have to create it. The issue is in the industry is that a lot of these scaffolds are too expensive. We're making it more affordable, but we're not selling it at a discount. What we're really doing is we're selling it at a healthy gross margin and profitable for us. And that way we can rely on more adoption and also more volume of sales because of that. And ultimately, the real winner here is the patient, because a lot of patients, they're unable to get some of these technologies, again, because of the cost. So last but not least, out of the 3 points I mentioned to you that we focus on is the information side. And we've actually filed, interestingly, an AI IP that we filed in 2024 specifically to help surgeons with pre-planning for soft tissue repair, but also to interact with the surgeon as an ecosystem to help guide them, just like a GPS in your car, help guide them, based on a lot of information on the internet and so forth and how it works. So here's a quick video that simply explains what this Atrium AI is called, what it does, and we've already developed the proof of concept in-house, and this is planned to be launched again by the end of 2027.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we have a problem.
Let's start right back on the beginning.
Quiet down. Quiet down. Let's stay cool, people. What's this? That's what they got to make. A lithium hydroxide canister to 2 lithium hydroxide canisters.
Cut duct tape 3 feet long.
I'll need his arm. Just use your arm.
Good arm length.
Oh, okay, Houston. I see what you're getting at. Hold on. Houston, filters in place.
Yeah, Roger.
Houston, the CO2 level has dropped to 9, and it is still falling.
Atrium, please find similar cases.
Similar case was published with positive result. I will search web to share it with you.
Copy that. Proceeding.
Atrium is an AI-powered surgical support platform that assists surgeons during procedures by providing contextual insights based on prior cases, anatomical patterns, and workflow data.
Based on comparable cases, I recommend Phantomax to support controlled augmentation at this stage.
Thank you, Atrium.
I think I was impressed with Aevumed was able to do a lot with very little. I think there are a lot of applications for AI in what we do surgically and specifically in arthroscopy. There are certain things that right now we may think AI will be really helpful for that we find really maybe it's not that helpful for, and there'll be other things that we haven't even considered yet. AI could certainly look at a scope field and be able to potentially tell the surgeon the tear pattern that they're looking at, which sometimes may not be readily apparent. AI may be able to tell you that not just from the scope image, but also from the MRI.
So moving on to the business side of things, we have a fantastic medical advisory board. We have Dr. Williams, Ramsey Namdari, Johnson, Dotson, and Lazarus. We meet once a month. They help us in a lot of the direction, what's going on in industry, and the progression of the company as far as getting real meaningful clinical products out. We also have a surgeon advisory board that we meet once a quarter with Dr. Savoie, Frankel, Gasser, and Dracos. These are very well-known surgeons, pioneers in their field, and they also get us in touch with a lot of surgeons around the country as well. Here's what Dr. Savoie has to say.
So Aevumed as a company is actually pretty fun to work with. When they put their study groups or surgeon advisory boards or different things together, they do it by sort of body part, by hip, by knee, by foot and ankle. In my case, it's shoulder. And I dabble with the elbow a little bit just because I do a lot of elbow surgery. But the fun thing is that they're very receptive and responsive to changing things. A lot of times you work with people or an engineer, they know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And it's really hard to convince them that they need to change based on patient anatomy and patient requirements. And this company is very easy to work with. They respond to feedback very well, and they'll change things to make it better. And that's a real tribute to them. They also have some pretty creative things that we're working with in terms of the biologic patches. And I think their creative technology on how they spin this patch and put the collagen together is a little bit different than everyone else's. Of the things that they're developing, the tools like the lateral row anchor are absolutely fabulous. They're really good and they're a step up. It could be a game changer in our biologic concepts about the rotator cuffs. I really like that concept. And if you have a company like Aevumed that's very nice to listen to the problem you're having and then design something that's creative and can fix that problem, that's very helpful. So as younger surgeons are doing more things and we're getting more creative about how to get things fixed better, whether it's shoulder, knee, hip, foot, and ankle, having a company that's very responsive and willing to make something new that changes the game a little bit is very helpful. So I think if they can continue that path, they're going to do very well. I think the future is quite exciting. I really like working with the engineers, working with SAFE, working with Jerry Williams, and really trying to put things together that I think will help surgeons help patients. And that's been the main focus of everything I do. And I think this company is very responsive in putting good things together that will help these patients do better, help our surgeons do a better job of taking care of the patients. And that's what I think the future of orthopedics is all about.
And so we work with many surgeons. We actually work with over 50 surgeons across many different projects. We currently have 7 FDA cleared products. One of them I should add here, which is the Phoenix. We just received FDA clearance last week, actually. But what's very exciting, and I think everyone should take a note of this, all of our sales today is just from 3 products. We still have another 4 products that are FDA cleared that we're not selling yet because we received them, number one, in the last 6 months. And then the second part is that we're busy manufacturing. And as a matter of fact, one of those products is going to be launched next month. So we're manufacturing them all in-house, and we're going to be launching the rest of these products that are already, again, FDA cleared in the next couple of months here as well. So it's really exciting for us, and we have a number of other projects that we're working on. As we develop products, we have many patents already filed, many of them already issued, and you can obviously go to Google Patents. To type in Aevumed, you'll see our patents in there, at least the ones that have been filed. So one thing to note is that we're not a one-product company. What we really are is a company that has a very unique process, and that's how we get multiple products that are all disruptive technology, and that's a very unique thing. Actually, one of our investors, and hopefully, I wish well for everyone, but ironically, one of our investors actually had one of the implants used in him because he had a terrible rotator cuff tear as well. And so he sent me this very nice postcard saying that, the company now is forever in him. So I thought that was a very nice gesture to share with everyone here. So going on to sales and marketing, we're very heavy on LinkedIn. Maybe some of you already follow us. We are also very heavy in some of the local meetings for surgeons around the country. We sponsor some of them occasionally. And we meet a lot of surgeons, and that's how we basically market ourselves. And we have distributors around the country. We currently sell in many states, and approved in many areas. We sell obviously in Pennsylvania here, in New York, Florida, California, Montana. So we are active, and we're in some major institutions as well. So as an example, here in Philly, we're the Jefferson Hospital System. They're using us, Mainline Health, Rush in Chicago, Cleveland Clinic, Campbell Clinic, NYU. So it's been really exciting for us, and we're just scratching at the surface. So we are approaching cash flow positive in 2028. But this is a big year for us, right? So we do want to get launched the Phantom X and the Phantom and the HM as well. I'm happy to talk more about that in more details. But this is our team. We have a super team, very privileged to be working with everyone here. Between Miles and myself, we've been pretty much in all of our careers in medical device. Bill Warner is our VP of sales. He has over 35 years experience selling orthopedic implants. He's worked with Zimmer, J&J, Smith & Nephew. And on our board, we have some fantastic members. Bill Shopoff is actually the president of the Smith & Nephew trauma business. He was the global president for that division. And then David Farmer was the CFO also at Smith & Nephew, has a deep understanding in financial reporting, as well as how to run the financial for a medical device company. And Dr. Williams is the only physician who has on the board, but has deep connections with industry as well. Here's where Dr. Williams has to say.
I think what's most interesting about Aevumed doesn't live or die by the success of one product. This is a company that you're investing in, not a product that you're investing in. And that gives you lots of opportunity as a company to increase sales and increase value for the investors. Whereas there are some startup companies where they live and die by one product. And if it goes great, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And if you are somebody that knows the medical space, particularly sports and shoulder, and you were to look through the list of design surgeons and people who are involved with this company, it's pretty impressive. There are well-known names in this company that everybody knows, and that would provide confidence in people to invest in this company.
And so here's the M&As that I've mentioned to everyone earlier. This is all in rotator cuff and sports medicine. The last three are specifically only rotator cuff tears, and those M&As were only in the last 4 years max. So we have BioRes by Zimmer, $250 million in acquisition, Embody for $275 million. And then this year alone, in January, we had Integrity Orthopedics, the last one at the bottom here, acquired by Smith & Nephew for $450 million. Now, their revenue, just to be clear, and this is important, their revenue was approximately about $5 million in sales, and they bought them, again, acquired them for $450 million. So we see these very high multiples, and I get this question a lot. So I just want to mention a lot of these orthopedic companies buy these startups once they get a product on a market, is because for these valuations, is because once they put that product into their distribution channel. Remember, these are multi-billion-dollar companies. They're able to not make $5 million a year. They're able to make $50 million plus a year. So the valuation is based on what the strategic is going to be making. And with that, I'm just going to end with this slide. Here are some of the potential acquirers. Many of them are in sports medicine. Some are not in sports medicine. Some we actually have one of them that has invested in Aevumed because they really like what we're doing, and they're looking at keeping an eye on us. And so I'm just going to end here. I just want to leave the rest of the time here for any questions and discussion. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you listening to what we have to say here for Aevumed.
Very interesting, Dr. Khalil. Fascinating look at this aspect. You had discussed some of the key players in the market who have huge distribution channel presence, and you're also going after health systems. You're going after the surgeons, and you're building awareness there, and you're building loyalty there. Those huge healthcare systems, they also make decisions, getting into the operating theater via clinicians and that sort of thing. how do you approach those organizations? A little different than perhaps approaching the individual or independent orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in general, we either sell to an ASC, right, or a surgery, center, or we sell directly to a hospital. And in both cases, we have to go through a VAC, which is a value analysis committee, right? So they primarily focus on pricing more than technology. So the first line of sales for us is always through the surgeon. Because they have to be convinced that the technology makes sense for their patients. And so that's number one. And once we pass through that line, the next is to go through the VAC, right? So they look at our pricing, and we are priced in a very unique position. And so we know what the competitors sell for. And so we don't sell necessarily at a discount. We're not the lowest one, I can tell you that. But we know who the highest is. And we're usually pricing, close enough to them, so to make ourselves more attractive from a price standpoint, right? But what's really helping us with that strategy too is the fact that we manufacture in-house. Our gross margin today is 75% on our products, right? And so and we haven't really scaled yet, and we're projecting by the end of this year we're approaching 80%. So. Because of that, the technology and the right pricing, we have been able to get into a lot of these major institutions.
Okay, very good, very good. A number of the products that you have been approved, have achieved regulatory approval, FDA approval. You have others in the pipeline. Just for us novices, us folks unfamiliar with it, it is a mysterious process getting approval, and it seems to be the big thing that determines the future of a product. Obviously, if you can't get it approved, you can't get it into the market. Can you kind of walk through that at a high level? Like, what's that process like?
I think what helped us a lot here at Aevumed is the fact that, we come from the industry. Most of all of our leadership team, we come from orthopedics, right? We've been in other companies. We understand the process, and that's helped us a lot. And so typically you really need to understand the products, what code they are under the FDA, and based on those codes, you need to understand, how to compare your products. Is it class 2 or class 3? And our focus is usually just, so far, and we plan to keep it that way, is just on class 2 devices. We know that very well, and which are all these products. They're basically implants for orthopedics. And so we know a method, an approach to go through the FDA without clinical trials. And I think that's the big thing, right? If you have clinical trials, we're talking about $10+ million. You have to get, data with, 1-2 years at least follow up from the patients. And that's not required with the products that we are making. So we understand the regulatory pathway. We understand the FDA requirements and how to navigate that. And that's how we've been able to get 7 FDA clear products to date.
Thanks for shedding light on that. Appreciate that. Do we have your contact information for those in the audience who may want to reach out? Do you have a slide with contact information, or can you tell us, how?
I don't think it's on my slide, but it's basically my first initial S and then my last name, Khalil, Khalil, at aevumed.com.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for your time and for a fascinating look at this. And thanks everyone else who chose to spend a little bit of time with us during the day. Everyone enjoy the rest of the day. And Dr. Khalil, again, thanks.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.